Recently, I made a video that asked Christians several questions, and the first few were intentionally designed to poke at people who probably allow themselves to take in certain information selectively. In other words, they're not really engaging anything but their own side. So, for example, one of the questions was, have you read any firsthand materials criticizing your beliefs, or has it mostly come secondhand through people that already agree with you, or something like that? And one of the other questions was, what are you personally trying to do to overcome confirmation bias? Now, these questions can be useful to use to talk to anyone from any worldview, but I think that they're especially useful to jab Christians with, and I'll explain why. First, it's been my experience, and I'm certain that it's the experience of other deconverts as well, that a lot of Christians aren't really interested in seriously engaging viewpoints that they don't agree with. And that might be because they just don't care, or maybe they're scared to, or maybe they're just lazy. It could depend on the person, honestly. But even devout religious believers who maybe try to engage, sometimes it's still painfully superficial. Like, say they'll read a couple of apologetics books and act like they have all this stuff figured out and try to, teach all the other people. But, this is it really that surprising that this happens among Christians when in reality, statistically, they don't even read their own holy book. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised. The second reason it's useful to engage Christians with these sorts of questions is because it often reveals a deep tension in their beliefs. Because arguably there's a moral obligation for believers to try to convert others to their way of thinking, given most versions of Christianity. And a lot of other worldviews don't necessarily have this moral obligation to do that. And so you'd think if one of your main goals is to try to help people see the light and see that your views are correct and have a relationship with Jesus, that you would want to understand their position as well as you can so that you can engage it and help change their minds. But according to the behavior of many Christians, that's not really what's going on, not so much. I mean, I guess holding hands and singing Kumbaya and crying at church is enough for some people, but alas, it is what it is. Related to all this talk of information control and all that, on the ground, when we look at certain churches, it starts to look suspiciously like it conforms with a lot of features of Stephen Hassan's BITE model for identifying cults, all with their divvying things up into insider versus outsider doctrine, and the encouragement to focus mostly on cult sources of information as opposed to other ones. I'm not saying all Christians do that, but this sounds suspiciously like a lot of fundamentalists and how evangelicals and other groups operate when it comes to trying to keep people in the fold. Now, there's also other well-documented things that can keep people in certain belief systems, and some of these are isolation, uncertainty, repetition, emotion, and control. Like I said, well-documented strategies for keeping people in belief systems. I guess now that I think about it, it does make sense why some Christians send their children from the cradle to these conservative schools. It's all starting to fall into place. No wonder that so many churches either implicitly or explicitly encourage their members to self-monitor when it comes to what information they take in. No wonder so many churches try to tout that their beliefs are this solid foundation that drives away the uncertainty, and to try to use scare tactics to make everyone else's beliefs look terrifying. It makes sense that repetition is often recommended, even into adulthood, to beat the preferred beliefs into people's heads. It makes sense that there's such a Herculean effort to make sure that all the members' main source of meaning and purpose is tied directly to this very specific and narrow claims of particular expressions of Christianity. It's weird when Christianity sometimes looks like a cult, huh?